Okay, so I got this question today. It was a really good question off of Twitch, and it involved making character designs and how to draw armor specifically, with a steampunk sort of twist. So I pulled up one of my old D&D commissions here, um, and this is kind of an example that I was trying to show someone to kind of help them out. And I thought I would make a YouTube video, try to help you guys out too. One of the best things that I've learned as far as character design is the concept of using big, medium, and small shapes together. And what this means, and this is something that I learned from KNKL. I'm sure those of you familiar with with any sort of art channels on YouTube know him. He does a fantastic channel. I highly recommend go check him out because his videos are going to be way better than mine. Um, but with his concepts, and I don't think they're his concepts, obviously. He probably learned them somewhere, but we're going to say they originated from him, okay? So his concepts would be switching up a lot of your shapes. And this doesn't apply to just character design. I'll show you more with just design work as well in a minute. But you want to have big shapes, medium shapes, small shapes. And you want to combine all those in different manners, right? So right now, these all are pretty much the same type of shape. These aren't big, medium, small necessarily. So what we have to do is we have to take a big shape here, and the way we want to make it different and stand out from a medium shape is we want to maybe cut that in half, right? So now we have maybe half the size. Small shapes, maybe we go down to fourth the size. It doesn't have to be precise, but now you see a big difference, right? So now here's our medium shapes, here's our small shapes, and they're stacked up next to each other. This gives us so much more visual information than just having the same size shape over and over and over again, right? Like that can look okay in some kind of design work, but when we're talking about a character design, this is going to be very, very kind of boring. This is going to move your eye, and that's the most important thing. So let's go back to our character design as an example. In this, you can see I have a lot of sort of large areas. Let me get a different color for you guys. Let's try red, even though we got some red on here. But you can see we have these big areas. I kind of consider all these to be big shapes, right? Because even without just using shapes, we're using color, and that counts too. But the way that we can break those up is, you see, in these big shapes, now maybe the shoulder's a medium shape. Maybe this part is kind of a medium shape as well. So we're breaking up this big shape to make it visually more interesting. And within that, maybe we have small shapes. We have these designs. Same with this chest area. This is a big area of color. And now we have these smaller shapes that come into play. Now we have the medium shapes with the chest, the pec muscles. Now we divide this even more, right? And these are going to be smaller shapes as well. These are going to be even smaller, but they're all sitting right next to a big shape. So it's going to create some visual interest. We don't just have the same size over and over and over again repeating. Even within this full character, these big shapes are going to be these big swatches where his pants are. One thing to remember with this is you're also directing the eye. You're just not haphazardly really going at it with this. Although I have found with this technique, it's so useful that you can kind of haphazardly go with it, and it will help break things up. Um, so with any character, obviously we kind of want to focus on the head, right? So we kind of want our first initial read is going to be towards the face. So that's going to be this big shape. But you see how it's kind of surrounded by these little smaller shapes. There's a lot of detail going on here. it kind of brings it in. And then outside of these, we have a big mass where this backpack is. We have kind of a big shape where this, I would say these are two medium shapes together, but as far as color goes, it's a bigger area of red. So we're just kind of jumping around to it, right? And the rest of this we're leaving very plain. We don't need a whole lot of detail right here. So we don't need the viewer to really look and see this. The viewer is, if you have too much stuff going on, it's going to be overstimulation. So let's look at another example. The one I showed today was one of my more recent pieces that I really loved, but the same way with this dog shape, right? And now this is just kind of a quick sketch. Let's see if we can add any more layers to this. But the main focus I wanted to draw people to was the face here. And you can see all these little lines here. These are sort of intentional, not only to show emotion, but to pack in a lot of tinier shapes and tinier details within this area. By contrasting that, we have these two bands, which I think together I qualify that as like a medium shape. Then we go up here and we have this large shape. Now the reason this is still the same hairs on his face, but the reason this is not going to be as over detailed. I feel like I'm doing John Madden right now, by the way. But the reason this is not going to be as detailed is we don't want it to compete with the face. So we have this big ear, right? This big ear shape. We have this smoke, which is not going to be a lot of detail. And even I took the lines out of that. I took the dark line work out of that to soften it, because I really want your focus to be on the face as far as the character design goes. Let's look at some more examples on it. You have this big shoulder pad, right? And then one thing that I love that Joe Madureira used to do is he would kind of make these weird shapes as the trim on all his stuff. Those guys familiar with him probably know him, know exactly what I'm talking about. But he would divide up all that into like little tiny shapes, right? So that gives us that visual jump off of, here's this really big form, and then we go to like these smaller shapes. And now maybe down here, this sleeve comes out as a medium-sized shape. And then we got more big areas of color. This is just something to keep repeating and thinking about. I hope that I'm kind of explaining this well. I know that another example I have is a t-shirt design I'm working on, and I showed this one as well to the person asking. But it goes just beyond armor, and it goes into design work as well. And just anything as a principle, our focus area is right here on this plain face, right? So there's not a whole lot of detail going in that. The body is going to be a big area, especially when we color it. This whole body area, there's not a whole lot of detail in that. So what do we do around it? Because we have those areas that would be kind of, I guess, boring or flat, but in this case, we're going to add all this hair and all this detail around it, and these are going to count for our medium or our smaller shapes or smaller detail. That means when we get to the spaces like the body, the face, our eye is going to want to rest there. It's going, instead of looking at it as this plain, boring area, it's going to look at it as something that's very welcome. By that same idea, it's going to look at these medium shapes as well, or these smaller shapes as well too, and these medium ones out here. Everything's going to be like a little adventure as you see it, right? So the mask here is a very plain area, but I would say it's kind of a medium shape in comparison to size-wise to everything else. And this doesn't have to be an exact science. It just kind of go with your gut. But if you're feeling really stuck on this stuff, just keep in mind that big, medium, small principle. Just try to think color-wise, try to think detail-wise. If your first read on a piece is not going where you want it, can you take some stuff out? This little robot friend of his that the client wanted, he's very plain. He's very plain. I think that was part of the character design, if I'm not mistaken. But also, he's kind of a secondary read, and even to that extent, look how much more details on that claw, right? And I dropped that out into shadow, so you're kind of focusing on here, right? So this is just something that I hope helps you guys think about. It's just a little trick that's really, 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 really helps me. And like I said, go watch K and KL. The dude is amazing. He explains this so well, probably way better than I could. But this is something to just keep your eye moving around. Just a short little video just to help you guys go experiment with it. Tell me what you guys think. If you're feeling stuck and if you're feeling blah in your character design, beyond the silhouette thing, which is maybe something I'll do another video on, focus on the idea of big, medium, small. Focus on it within individual shapes, right? You can have a big shape here and then you can divide it up. And you can have smaller parts, you can have medium parts. You can do this within sub shapes. So focus on that. Go practice it. Let me know what you think. I really, really appreciate you guys watching this video. Yeah, thank you guys. Everybody have a good day.